One of the events that happens early in Washington's presidency is the Whiskey Rebellion. Hamilton proposes an excise tax, a tax on a product like we have on gasoline, on whiskey. Now, farmers in Pennsylvania had been making whiskey for years, and it wasn't just for drinking. It was almost a currency. You could transport it easier than grain. It was used in barter, and they had no desire to pay this tax on whiskey. Unlike Shays' Rebellion, the Whiskey Rebellion was met with a president who was also commander-in-chief and a federal army. The farmers rebelled, and Washington physically took his troops there and put the rebellion down. Most people, when Washington arrived with the troops, didn't even fire a shot and chose to not confront the power of the United States, or Washington's army anyway. Some of these men, of course, had fought with Washington during the war. So it's a delicate balancing act. Stronger central government kept social order, but as the farmers of Pennsylvania felt, well, it was being unfairly taxed. There was representation, of course, unlike with the British, but you can see a tension rising a little bit between states' rights and the federal government here, even after the Constitution is passed. The national debt. There was debt after the war, and Hamilton wanted to restore confidence in the economy. Sounds like a good thing to do right now, doesn't it? Hamilton combined all the states' debts. See, not every state had equal debt, and some states with less debt were upset about having to pay for the debts of states that perhaps had more. Hamilton said, it's all federal debt now. He combined it all and chose to pay it all off. And he paid back any war bonds at face value. He did this to put the United States on a firm credit footing. You can see the little Pennsylvania debt here. And don't forget, under the Articles of Confederation, states were issuing their own money. It was really, really chaotic from an economic sense. Hamilton wanted to put economics in good order and have a system that established confidence in both the U.S. currencies and the banking system, and the federal government in debt. Hamilton also proposed the BUS. I love that. The Bank of the United States, the United States National Bank. The Bank of the United States was going to be sort of like the Federal Reserve is today. It's going to issue money, and it's going to make loans to business and keep the money in the economy at a proper setting for economic growth, prosperity, and stability. Hamilton also proposed tariffs on foreign imports to both fund the federal government and to help the economy grow. People in the South weren't too sure they liked this idea about the national bank. The people in the North were going to get more loans than those in the South. Remember, the South was mostly plantation agriculture. If businesses were getting loans, well, that would probably be up in the North. There was more manufacturing that was starting. Massachusetts, New York, and that area. The Southerners weren't too thrilled with the idea of a national bank supporting northern businesses with their tax dollars. So, guess what? The U.S. capital was moved from some northern city like Philadelphia and New York to the south, to the new district of Washington, D.C. That's why the federal capital is located where it is today. And Hamilton got his wish. The bank was formed. There's another interesting approach to looking at this national bank. The Southerners had mostly paid their debts, and the speculators and the businesses in the North would get wealthy. But was it constitutional? There's nothing in the Constitution about the national bank. Is it necessary and proper for the credit and the government to have the national bank? Some argued no, that it was an extension that violated the Constitution. Look at Thomas Jefferson's quotes. The end of democracy and the defeat of the revolution will occur when the government falls into the hands of lending institutions and the moneyed in corporations. What is Jefferson saying in this quotation? Is he right? And what would Jefferson think of the way our democracy was run today? Look what Washington said. When he retired, he gave a farewell address. And he only served 2 terms. That sort of became precedent. And then after Franklin Roosevelt, it was made policy with the 22nd Amendment. Look what Washington says. He warns against political parties and says they can be destructive and divisive. He wants us to remain neutral in foreign affairs and not get involved in entangling military alliances. And he warned against having a powerful standing army, that it could be used for wrong purposes. He also wanted unity. Unity between all the people in the United States to work together. Look at what he warned us against. How would Washington view the United States today? One of the issues we have today with the Constitution that started back almost immediately after ratification was the idea versus strict and loose construction. Strict construction basically said if it's in the Constitution it's okay, if it's anything else outside it's not. Loose construction was, well, necessary and proper, the elastic clause. If it doesn't say we can't do it, it's not prohibited, and it seems reasonable as something government could do, then we're able to do it. The Federalists were more of the loose construction at this point. They wanted to the Bank of the United States, and they wanted to increase the power of the federal government. Jefferson was more of a strict constructionist. These are the things the Constitution says the government can do, and it's limited to these and these things alone. If you take a look at the election of 1796, you can see clearly where Adams has his support in the North, and in a few border states there in the South, Maryland. Jefferson clearly has his support in the rural areas, the South, and then Pennsylvania, which is highly farm-oriented as well. In the election of 1800, Jefferson gets the upper hand, and parties change power. The Democratic Republican comes to office. There's no violence, there's no bloodshed, there's no revolution or civil war. The new party takes power, and Thomas Jefferson becomes president.